Hello, hello, Christina Giordano here, and this is Sold, your go to resource for soulful entrepreneurship. And my philosophy is this: people can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. But in order to sell with soul, you need to be sold on you first. This is marketing with integrity, where you no longer need to compromise your authenticity, your boundaries, your uniqueness, your wholeness. This is messaging in a way that actually reflects the transformation you provide because it's your story, your transformation, and nobody can compete with that. This is manifesting in a way that honors your fullness, all of the pieces and parts of you that are meant to be divinely resourced. Join me every Wednesday to learn all of this and more. Let's jump right in. Today's episode is called Take a Glimpse at the New Human, the Mirror That Is Your Essence. So, first of all, a little shout out to my cute little mic here. If this is bizarre, let me know in the comments. If not, we're just going to roll with it. Now, in this week's episode of Sold, I wanted to give you a glimpse of the mirror that is your essence. And while this is the video version of the real episode, you can catch the full episode on my podcast, which is Sold by Christina Giordano. That's S.O.U.L. And you can find that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now, before I dive in, I wanted to give some context to this week's content because I realized that referring to the new human sounds a little crazy and maybe a little bit woo woo. And if you aren't following the astrology of the times or the numerology of the year, or even what the spiritual and intuitive communities are talking about and speaking of in relation to the collective consciousness, this is going to sound a little crazy, especially if you aren't tuned into any of those platforms or communities. So I will ground this context as much as I possibly can, but I actually do speak about it in a lot of my content, just not so directly. Something is essentially happening within the evolution of the human. And we are essentially taking a deeper dive into our consciousness. We're becoming more conscious human beings, and therefore we are accessing more information and more data, and then therefore more frequencies and energies. And as you're becoming a more conscious human being, accessing deeper frequencies and energies is somewhat of a natural byproduct of that. However, in a collective level, we're kind of getting new eyes. We're seeing things very differently. And when you see things differently, you not only think differently and move differently, but your entire reality kind of changes because um, your perception and your perspective is new. And so, this is essentially what I'm talking about when I'm referring to new human. There is something happening collectively where we are evolving in a time and accessing deeper frequencies, deeper energies, and able to live more fully and more authentically and be more in, I want to call it union with life. We're able to access more possibilities, more opportunities, more magic than ever before, simply because we're becoming more deeply connected to ourselves. Now, I have personally been nervous to talk about this because, again, it sounds a little crazy and woo woo. And for me, as someone who likes to keep things grounded and practical as much as possible, it can be a little uncomfortable. But the thing is I do need to own this because I channeled the marketing methods and the manifesting methods. Again, two series of methods that allows you to market and manifest with nothing but the essence that is you before I actually knew or even understood what they would be used for. So when I channeled the marketing methods back in 2020 and I came up with the L.I.F.E method, the soul method, and the L.O.V.E method, I was really helping people tap into their own authentic truth as it relates to what they do. And then when I channeled the manifesting methods, the debit method, the credit method, and the R.O.S.E method a couple years later, I was helping people essentially shed everything that isn't them and become more of who they truly are, which, by the way, is their most expansive self, so that they could show up for that marketing message and that marketing strategy in a way that is them shining, being seen and shining as the soulpreneur that they were always meant to be. I didn't realize I was actually doing this while I was channeling these methods. And to be honest, I didn't really know how to market them effectively until recently when I started to fully integrate and connect with the methods myself on a way deeper level so that I can kind of trailblaze the path ahead for people who consider themselves soulpreneurs and want to do this work and who understand the value of this work. So, when you're essentially tapping into the new human frequency, as we'll call it, you don't see yourself the same, which is why this episode is all about the mirror of your essence. Like, what does it actually look like to be in the new human frequency? And I don't want to say this in a way as like, I'm the new human. I don't want to be like that at all. That's not who I am. But I can speak to certain changes within my inner world that have definitely created a new outer reality. And I think that the more I can help people tap into their own blueprint for authenticity, the better the world will be, more frankly, but also the more successful we will become. Because I truly believe that the new paradigm of marketing and manifesting is rooted in your essence. It has to be. It can't be performative anymore. It can't be based on what the status quo of marketing used to be. It can't be about hustling and grinding and following somebody else's roadmap. It has to be yours. It has to be your way, or it's not going to work at all. So, as I was saying, you don't see yourself the same and you don't see life the same. You don't see others the way you used to. Everything is different. It's not necessarily better or worse, it's just different. So, like I said earlier, new eyes. And I kind of want you to think of new eyes as I'm going through these 4 or 5 new human perspectives that I want to dive into. Now, the most important part that I also want you to keep in the back of your mind is that the only reason you have new eyes is because you're tapping into a new frequency. And when you have access the off, off when you have access the frequency of your authentic truth, you embody the frequency of unconditional love. Like, you authentically being you means that you are accepting who you are in the depths of who you are, as who you are, and radiating that truth. Again, fully accepting it. That's being in the frequency of unconditional love, because the frequency of unconditional love doesn't exist on earth. Like, it just doesn't. It's not something you learn. It's something you remember. It's not something that gets handed to you. It's something that you have to work through yourself. And along the same lines, you can't fake it. You can't fake the frequency of unconditional love. It won't work, which is another reason why I don't like the manifestation matrix, is because it's this whole fake it till you make it vibe. And that's not going to work anymore either. The outer transformation needs to happen in order for the inner transformation needs to happen in order for the outer transformation to occur. And that is something that I will always stand by. But the thing is, most people won't do this because it requires radical honesty on a journey of self-discovery. And a lot of people just won't go there. But if I'm going to be really honest, the only thing that it takes to get there, to actually approach this work, is a willing heart. That's it. If you are willing to see more and understand more and learn more about yourself and meet more of yourself and dig deeper into yourself, you're already doing it. Because the more that you could shine a light on your unconscious pain patterns and programming and make them conscious, you make them changeable. You bring them to life. Once you make something conscious, you can't unsee it. You can't unknow it. You know now. And so you know better and can move differently because you can think differently. So let's take a glimpse at this new human perspective. New human perspective number 1. You realize that your ego cares a lot more about certain things, situations, circumstances, and people way more than your essence does. Your essence fully embraces the notion of IDGAF. And for the people who are listening who don't know what that means, it's I don't give a F. And you're doing this in the most conscious way possible. Notice that I said the most conscious way possible, not the nicest way possible, because consciousness embraces compassion, but it also has fierce boundaries. Now, for many of us, particularly the empaths and the highly sensitive intuitives and the people pleasing givers of the world, this could feel revolutionary. Living by the notion of IDGAF could feel like, oh my God, how dare I? It's like the audacity to approach life like that. But the thing is, it can also be deeply, deeply freeing because when we release the weight of, again, people, places, and circumstances around us in our outer world, our inner world gets to shine and show up in a whole new way. And just as a side note, the whole notion of IDGAF, it doesn't need to be an FU move. And when I'm living by this myself, that's not at all what I'm feeling. I'm not actually feeling FU IDGAF. Like, I don't actually think that at all, especially outwardly. Like, I'm not projecting that onto anybody. I'm not saying I don't care about any of these people or places or things. I'm saying it to the old version of me who used to be moved by those people, places, and things. That's essentially what I'm saying IDGAF to. I'm saying it to the version of me who would get triggered, who would get angry, who would fight back, who would want to argue and over explain and all of the things, who would essentially abandon my own energy for the sake of something that wasn't necessary. That's what I'm saying IDGIF to. That version of me that was holding me back. So think about it like that. It doesn't need to be an FU move. It can be an I love me and I love you move. I love me enough to not do this dance with you move. And this is essentially, letting people be who they are, letting situations and circumstances be what they are, having radical acceptance for where you are. This is grace. This is surrender. This is ease. This is peace. This is what that looks like. The new human perspective, number 2, you accept that your past is nothing more than a memory, and there's truly no reason to hold on to any of it. Your essence is light and free and fully present. All that matters to your essence is the here and now. There are infinite possibilities in the present moment. There are none in the past. And the presence essentially builds the future. What you do moment to moment builds your future. That's the definition of momentum, building moment to moment. And that's how you essentially consciously build a life. And I had a hard time with this because, kind of piggybacking off the first perspective, when I was moving through my divorce and getting triggered or angry, it was because I was holding on to a lot of resentment. That would be an example of me holding on to the past, holding on to the version of me who didn't want to let go of what I thought was pain or wounding. I didn't want to let go of that. So I consciously kept stepping back into the old version of me who would over explain, who would argue, who would fight back. Once I decided to let that go, I had zero inclination to argue, to fight back, to do any of that. I had zero inclination to even think about the divorce because I decided to stay present. When you hold on to the past, the old stories, the versions of you, the habits, the patterns, the pain, all of it will keep you from expanding into the new. You have to let it go. And this is essentially why we shed. We shed so that we can open up to the possibilities within the new, so that we can become the most expansive version of us. Anything that is weighing us down, that is burdening us, that is holding us back, is going to keep us in the past. It's going to keep us in the old version of us. We can't have new eyes if we're seeing the same thing the same way. You have to be able to see into the new. You have to be able to see into the new with the frequency of unconditional love. And yes, this sounds so like as I'm saying it, I can feel the resistance of like, like who does she think she is? She must be holier than. It's not like that at all. I don't see myself as a god or anything like that. I don't see myself as being this like perfect, pristine, pure person. I'm not. I'm still human, but I'm the new human in which I can embrace the BS of life and not let it affect me like it used to. That's simply what it is. And when you can dwell more in the frequency of unconditional love, which is, I'll be honest, the feeling of heaven on earth, that's really what it is. The more that you can dwell into that frequency, and trust me, it gets easier to dwell into that frequency. The more that you can dwell into that, the more your outer reality changes and the more your manifestations actually land. So, what I'm trying to say is releasing these burdens that keep us held back is a radical act of self love. Yes, the wounding was real. Yes, the pain was real. Is it worth it holding on to it? Is it worth it anymore? Is it actually achieving anything for you to hold it, to grip onto it, to cling to it? No, it's not. It's not. And the new human demands radical self love. All right, moving on to the new human perspective number 3. You see your value in a totally new way. Now, in my personal life, I was only able to hit the frequency because of what a lot of people would call a full blown tower moment in my life. If you follow tarot or not, that's essentially what it is. A tower moment is basically like a complete collapse of either a version of you or of your life or of your identity. And that's essentially what I experienced. I experienced the breaking up of my marriage, of massive financial strain, of losing my home, of a major identity crisis. I experienced all of that within a very short time frame. And I honestly had no idea who I was without any of that. And as I've said previously, nothing will ever be enough if you're not already enough without all of that. So I had to lose everything that I valued in order for my true value to emerge. That's what had to happen. I had to endure a complete destruction of my life and everything that I valued in it so that I could more or less see what I was putting on the pedestal that wasn't me. And this is more or less what happens within the manifesting methods. And I actually released the manifesting methods myself in late spring, early summer-ish. And that's when I was doing it at the same time that I was launching it into society. And as I was integrating more of it, I was like, this is what it is. I'm shedding everything that isn't me, everything that I don't need to value, everything that doesn't define me or my worth. You're shedding it so that you can become the value, so that your value is on the pedestal. Because when you do that, you're putting yourself back on your pedestal. You're putting yourself back in the driver's seat of your life, but it's not the version of you who's rooted in your ego. It's the version of you who's rooted in your essence, and your essence is pure abundance. The new human perspective number 4, you are deeply embodied. The journey is not just about consciousness within the mind, it's about what can be felt and experienced within the body. This means it must be lived. So, like I always say, the inner transformation it has to happen in order for the outer transformation to happen. But the inner transformation is not just what's within the mind. It's in the body too. One thing that I say in particular in the manifesting methods itself is spirit leads, mind follows, body moves. This means that our connection to the divine leads us. We follow divine inspiration. That's the trigger. That's our soul leading the way. That's when we are building soul aligned businesses because we're letting our souls take the lead. We're letting your essence lead you. From there, the mind follows. And the only way your mind will follow divine inspiration is if the inner transformation occurs. Because if you're still in the old version of you, the contracted version of you that's holding yourself back, that's keeping yourself stuck, you're not going to move. You're not going to move in the way the divine wants you to. And what happens that after that is the body moves. The body will get behind the mind. It has to. It can't happen any other way. The body can't move and then the mind follows. That's not a real thing. That can't happen. It won't happen. Your mind won't let you move. And so once you allow the mind to follow divine inspiration and you are capable of following divine inspiration, your mind is capable of following that, then your body moves. And this is essentially about acute body awareness and sensory attunement to the expansion that's happening within you. So this is about you really feeling that expansion and you being able to know the distinction between the contracted version of you and how they move and the expansive version of you and how the new you moves. You have to be able to understand that distinction, because once you can attune yourself, attune your body to the way you move in an expansive way, that's when things happen. That's when you start to move like the soulpreneur you were always meant to be. The new human, the new human perspective, number 5, you live within a frequency. Frequency is everything, Frequency is everything when it comes to your essence. I've said this before. Your essence is your highest frequency. It's your universal signal. It's your energetic signature. And that's because it's your authentic truth. Your essence is your higher self. It's you living authentically as you. That's what it is. And when you're anchoring into that, you're anchoring into a truth within you. The more deeply you can connect to the power of your essence, the more deeply you can connect to the power of your universe. And then the outer reality really starts to reflect the inner transformation. Again, it has to. You can't be the same person living the same. You can't be a different person and living the same life. It's not possible. It's not energetically possible. And so it's based on resonance. It's based on mind, body, heart coherence. You're no longer forcing outcomes. You're no longer efforting your way to things. You're attracting because you're radiating a frequency that is true to you. This is essentially why marketing and manifesting with nothing but the essence that is you is the way forward to building a soul aligned business. It's because the most authentic version of you is the greatest version of you. And the greatest version of you is the truest version of you. So I hope you enjoyed this episode today. Again, if you want to hear the full episode without my face, head to my podcast, which again is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, be well and take care.